Hi, I'm Azurdee. I am a survivor of domestic child sex trafficking and exploitation. I was 4 years old when I first started being trafficked. My main trafficker was a family member. He decided he was going to figure out ways that he could make money. One of those ways happened to be for us to travel together because he was considered a good man in the community. No one questioned us going anywhere or leaving the state or being gone for days and weeks on end. We would go somewhere every summer and stay gone for a while. He would take me to various places around the country, and he had friends there that he had known through his career. They had kids, and so it was sometimes a trade-off of his friends' kids for me, or auction settings where someone would pay to spend time, pay for different types of sexual services depending on what they wanted, what they were into. Kids being traded for rent, kids being traded for the light bill, gambling, drug addiction. That's still a foreign concept for so many people. People paying for more violent fetish, things that my trafficker wasn't involved in at all, but would take the money and leave. Since I was so young, I didn't recognize what was happening wasn't normal. I just thought my world was the world that everyone had, and there wasn't any difference. I attempted to get out after realizing that what was happening wasn't normal. I didn't have anywhere to go. There weren't facilities or homes or programs for anyone to go into. Anytime I would make a plan, there wasn't a way to carry it through because I didn't have money. I didn't have a way to stay gone. I didn't have friends outside of what was happening. All the other kids and teenagers that I saw were experiencing the same thing. It was like this was my entire life. Just don't tell. This is between us. No one's going to believe you. In my mind, they didn't, because of how I had tried telling and it not working. Now as an adult, I look back and I see where adults could have helped, where someone may have thought that everything was okay and didn't pay attention. I was very young when I had a number of pregnancy scares, a lot of concern about disease and different medical issues that now as an adult I have to deal with. Those are parts of trafficking that most people don't see. I've needed therapy because I've faced the nightmares and the night terrors and the memories of what has happened because of how long the trafficking happened. And we're talking almost 2 decades of trafficking experiences. I didn't just forget because it was family. It hurt a lot. Now, I really don't have family. My close family is all deceased. My extended family, I don't know them. And because of the walls I built up, just trying to get through what was happening. When I even had people help me at one point, I went back to family because I didn't understand that healthy relationships and positive affection were what I was supposed to get. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel enough to have real love and positive love and caring people in my life. I thought healthy relationships were toxic. They had to be with toxic people and had to be negative and had to be filled with violence and hate when people were nice and caring and loving. I didn't understand it. So that took me a long time to really sort out in my head. Social media wasn't around. The news wasn't around. No one covered shouldn't be buying and selling children. There were no recovery facilities. There were no laws back when I was trafficked. Even whenever I got out, I hadn't heard of any programs. I was in graduate school and had started my life over before the term trafficking even was in the news. And most trafficking in those cases, it was these big international rings bringing people in from other countries and hiding them and to work, or people were grabbing blonde-haired, blue-eyed teenage girls and shipping them overseas. No one ever, even still now, hardly ever talks about it's a family member. It's happening right here in your neighborhood. It's happening in that house and that house and that house or that condo or that apartment. Trafficking covers a multitude of situations. You've got labor trafficking, sex trafficking, you've got adult trafficking, child trafficking. I remember times when social workers would be sent in to talk to me, and I was trained, you don't talk to anybody, you don't say anything. Now with all the media, somebody's going to think, wait a minute, it's going to send off some red flags. If you were to show someone a branding you may have that a trafficker's given you, people are now know to look for those signs. Most teenagers don't of their own desire brand themselves. That sticks out for people. It's one of those pieces where somebody says, hey, wait, I need to investigate more. Some folks can't run off to the hospital even when they're injured. Their trafficker goes with them. Went to the hospital one time and had a bladder infection. Now as an adult, I know little kindergartners don't just get bladder infections. Now hospital staff are trained, so you can say something, ask questions that maybe allude to, I need to talk to someone by myself, or I need to tell you something, or why don't you look at that a little deeper? It's worth the risk. Safety is number one. You got to do what you need to feel like you're going to stay safe. Hurt people. And until we stop continuing to hurt people and start being equal human beings and recognize that we're different for a reason, and we got to love those differences, not just sit around and hate each other. Even though I wasn't sure about God caring about me or liking me or even knowing that I existed, I had a faith that maybe somebody somewhere might want better for me, might actually be concerned that I'm alive. Maybe there is a higher power that isn't wanting this to go on. It was that my brain's ability to remove itself, then be focused on the other kids involved, be focused on always looking at patterns of things and looking for escape routes and possible ways to, if I can go, can myself and all these other kids get out too. Strength every day 100% is I start my morning saying thank you for everything I have and all the things I don't have that I begged for. If my higher power gave me even a tenth of the things that I prayed for while I was being trafficked, I'd have never survived, because I was one of those people that in that trafficking prayed for death, prayed to escape out of there if that meant being dead. Just get me out of here. Just give me freedom. I am so thankful every single morning that alarm clock goes off at 4:30, and that's the first thing I do. All these years later, I've been given an opportunity to fix those things and really deal in deep with how I was affected and what still lingers. I've grown to realize that I can be more than what happened. I don't have to stick my head in the sand and stay a victim. I can overcome and I can thrive and I can be the person that I needed help to get help from. I moved multiple states and multiple times to reestablish myself in a new home, in a new environment where I could be safe and feel safe. Some of those decisions were just as simple as getting locks fixed, alarm systems, having a dog. But others were learning how to be comfortable with myself and learning how to be calm in the stillness and the quiet. Where I was so used to chaos, quiet was scary. When I first started therapy, I would sit and just look at the wall. And my therapist would say, I took classes on how to sit in silence, so this is okay. You don't have to say anything, which I found totally ironic when I got to postgraduate school and we actually did sit in silence in classes. And I thought, hey, she wasn't lying. Being able to just be in all of the anxiety and all of the feelings was so profound. People want to tell you what you're supposed to feel and how you're supposed to think and how you're supposed to react and respond when something happens. And that never happened. You can't compare trauma. Everybody's trauma is their own and how they react is their own. So the focus is shifted, and the people that are around me now are all part of that moving forward group. I don't really keep anyone around me that holds me back. No one is negative. Everybody around me is usually trying to do something to better their circumstances and others. Don't get me wrong though, I miss my friends that all I would do is sit and drink with them or smoke. I also have to remind myself, what did you accomplish while hanging out with them? Not much. What did you get going on 3-day drinking benders? Nothing. What did you get just sitting on the back porch smoking? Nothing. I was living that negative life that wasn't getting me anywhere, that didn't put me in places to do what I'm doing now, that put me in a lot of situations to lose jobs, lose friends, lose money, stuff. Didn't put me in a home with a career, helping people and having stability. I'm 42. Sometimes you just learn stuff because you get old enough that you can't do as much of the stupid stuff that you could do before. Just because your body's like, no, I can't go 48 hours without sleep. No, I can't just get in the car and drive 500 miles because I feel like it. Sometimes that's my bank account going, you can't pay for that much gas. And sometimes it's, yeah, and how are you going to get there and back for work on Monday? That maturity has not always been there. Absolutely not. It's taken a lot of time and practice and grace from other human beings to get there. Having second chances, having 35th second chances. You learn from mistakes, and I've made enough to learn a lot, and will continue making mistakes, and will continue growing. That's just who we are as humans. Any teenager that thinks they're going to have it all together and it's going to be perfect because they got out of whatever situation they got out of, that they're not being hurt any longer, it doesn't work that way. It takes a lot of effort. It takes good days, bad days, and a little in between to learn and to mature. You got to give yourself time. I will wake up and fiend for something and want. There are things I don't even keep in my house any longer because I know there are certain types of Tylenol that I will pop like Tic Tacs. That Oreos can't be in this house because I don't eat two. I eat the bag. I don't keep cigarettes. I don't keep lighters. You got to give yourself time. You got to give yourself enough to make those decisions and those choices. You can't blink and make it happen. At the end of the day, I know I have to choose better. I tell myself I'm going to go to therapy or I'm going to start therapy. I have to first look for a therapist. Well, before that, I got to know what I want in a therapist. I went to therapy like it was a job. I had one of the coolest therapists and therapy team because my therapist recognized that she was going to need a little help, that I was a case that she knew was complex and would need some assistance on. All the different therapists would come in and talk. Sometimes we would just talk about general life. How are things? Have you seen a movie? What kind of music are you listening to? So I learned how to have conversations, build trust with people. And I learned just basic holding space with another human being. Whenever I talk to brand new, still in that victim mentality, not yet fully embraced that they're a survivor individual, and they're like, I don't even know where to start. I say, okay, well, would you prefer talking to a man, a woman, someone that's transgender? Let's start there. Then we just kind of work through, okay, do you want someone is going to give you goals, or do you want somebody that just going to sit back, listen to you, and, light a candle and we're just going to learn some meditation? A lot of individuals don't realize that you can pick. Even in community mental health, there are a lot of people in that building, even if that's the only thing that your state-sponsored insurance or foster care insurance will pay for, there's still options within that option. I had a male therapist at one point because what I needed was to learn to be comfortable around more men. And I wanted to work on my relationships to someday have a husband and a family. So I sought out a male therapist. Some people think that's crazy, but that's what I wanted and needed at the time. You can decide the only person you're comfortable with is a female. All you got to do is start by figuring out, what do I want? What do I need? And then you take it one step at a time, break it down. Don't look at healing as, oh my goodness, there's this massive thing. It's baby steps, that's it. It doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes we take things to the extreme and we set up this box of, oh, therapy looks like you're going to go lay on a couch. This person is going to hear everything that's going on in your mind and they're going to know how to fix you. No, they don't. Therapists don't know how to fix you. Therapists' roles and responsibilities are to listen and help you figure out what you need. Work on what you want to work on. You don't have to work on what anybody else tells you have to work on. It's about you. Stand up for yourself. Make those decisions. Talk to people that will help you put that in motion. Allow folks in the organizations that you've connected with to do what they do. They've studied those rule books. They've studied those playbooks. They've been around other people, or they've been through their own stuff to be able to tell you, today might not be a good day, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, well, you know what? Even 2 days from now, it's going to look different. What you're going through today does not define who you are as a human being in the grand scheme of life. It's okay to have those bad days. It's okay to feel like you're failing. Just fail forward. Keep moving forward, even if it's a baby step, but you decide how to get there, what works for you, and then how are you going to give back to the next group of people that comes in that same look you had. I do therapy once a week, and that's now isn't so much about the trauma, but it's about how am I using what happened as a platform and a foundation to help others? What can I do to help myself continue to grow better and be able to help more people in the long run? I founded with a friend of mine a nonprofit. We work with teenagers, young adults, on overcoming their trauma, specifically domestic sex trafficking, which is trafficking that occurs here in the United States. We work with kids in foster care and DCBS and in the DJJ system, which is Department of Juvenile Justice. We train individuals to recognize trafficking. We're working with kids who have gone through trauma, who have been hurt, who've been sold, who've been exploited. We work on self-esteem. We work on boundaries, just learning how to communicate in a healthy manner. We also teach how they can use their voices. One of the things that is absolutely grates on my last nerve is when somebody says, I'm giving survivors a voice. No, you're not. Every survivor has a voice. You are giving me a platform or an environment to use my voice. What we do is we teach our participants, if you don't have a seat at the table, get your own table. Set your table up and start talking. You don't have to sit around every day and talk about your trauma. Whatever your passion is, you can find your area, and it doesn't have to be what mine is. Spend 1 weekend a month making a difference. It's okay. It doesn't have to be 24/7. My purpose drives me at work. I know that my purpose is far beyond what I ever imagined it would be. Whenever you're a kid and you say, I'm going to be a fireman, I'm going to be a police officer, I'm going to be a ballerina, I was like, I'm going to be a nun, and I'm going to live in a convent, and I'm going to just pray all day long. And now I've talked to thousands of people. And when I think about where I was living when I thought that was my goal in life, I'd have been talking to myself and God all day, maybe planting some vegetables. And it's like, no, that's not the purpose. The purpose is to live out loud, let people know I still make mistakes, I still struggle because of what happened. At the same time, I get up. I face them and I keep moving on. I'll have good days and I'll have bad days, but there are way more good days than there are bad days. I'd tell anybody that's going through trafficking now, you are worth more. You matter. There are people that understand, and there are people that have gone before you, and you're not alone. Take that step, reach out. Even though no one may have ever listened to you before, there's somebody somewhere that will. Give that person a chance. When I feel heard, it's one of the most powerful feelings in life. We want to connect. We connect as survivors. We gotta realize that we don't live in this isolated little bubble. We need each other. We may be that abused puppy in the street that still needs to be cared for, still needs to recognize that someone is going to come beside us as we nurse ourselves back and build a foundation to grow on. People get put in your path for a reason, and as scary as it may be, sometimes you have to take that leap of faith that person has been put in your path to help you. You got to give people a chance. You already know what it's like to be hurt. Not being hurt by somebody may be new and strange and scary, but at the same time, if you don't try, you'll never know. Then I got a really close friend. I've been there for the birth of her children. She has been with me through the death of my parents. We've been together now for over a decade. Started out very much just two people on the same mission, working at the same place. I didn't understand friendships, didn't understand healthy boundaries, and she did, and did them very well. And I learned so much, and learned that you don't have to talk to somebody every single day and still be friends. You don't have to have somebody agree with you at every single moment and still be friends. We can have educated discussions, or we can just sit and laugh like stupid fools, or you can cry. You can feel whatever you want to feel, and the other person isn't going to leave. They aren't going to turn their back on you. So it was those relationships that helped the most. My people and the support people for me were those people that met me where I was and allowed me to be a human, didn't give up on me because there were days when I really wasn't a good human. I'm so thankful that I've found the ones that did care. Now I can look back and say, those are the folks that I now base who I am and what I do and how I interact with people on. Those positive people. I've been very grateful. My story could have turned out quite differently. Many of the kids that I was trafficked with did not survive. They didn't survive because of the violence of the trafficking, or they didn't survive because their coping skills were very little. So I'm one of a very few that has made it. I hope that you can make it, you can do it, and you're worth the fight.